What's up guys, I'm back, and I just watched Stranger Things Season 5 Part 1, and I wanted to give all of you my thoughts on Season 5 so far as a longtime fan. And look out for my next video on some predictions I have for the rest of the season. This video will be split up into my overall opinions and then my thoughts specifically on the characters. Now, let's get into it. First, I just want to say I love the energy of this season so far. I think it's the perfect mix between the vibes of all the previous seasons. It's set completely in Hawkins and the Upside Down, with the town being in quarantine and unable to leave. This forces our cast and story back into familiar locations with mostly familiar people. Even the few new people have some connection to characters we are familiar with. I think this was a great decision because it doesn't overcrowd the story. We are focused solely on the party in Hawkins, just like in Season 1. The characters are still in their little groups, in typical Stranger Things fashion, but unlike previous seasons, every group feels like they are working towards the same goal. They are together yet separate, which is exactly how a finale season should be. There's not one group focused on secret Russians, one group focused on the Mind Flayer, yada yada. They are all trying to rescue Holly and defeat Vecna. Speaking of Holly, I enjoy the parallels between her and Will, as I think it's bringing the story into a circle, if that makes sense. It improves upon the time loop / time travel aspects that we have seen previously. Another thing is that you can really feel the stakes this season. Nearly killing Ted and Karen Wheeler at the beginning of episode 2 hit hard and left me on edge for the rest of the season. I actually felt nervous for the characters, which I don't usually feel during Stranger Things. There are a few moments where I was actually quite worried for Hopper or Joyce because I knew anything was on the table at this point. This feeling is just amplified with the fantastic acting. I can't lie, while I love Season 4, I felt like the acting was pretty poor in some parts, which sucked because Season 1 and 2 were amazing. The scenes that really stood out to me were, of course, when the Wheelers were being attacked. The actress who plays Holly is extremely good for her age. And when Nancy is washing her hands. Natalia absolutely killed that and made me feel so many emotions. And then, of course, everyone in the ending scene with Will. They all did great. I'd actually like to talk a bit more about that ending scene specifically because I think it's the best scene of this season, without a doubt, and I'm not sure it will be topped in the following episodes. It's the equivalent of Max's running up that hill scene. The flashbacks of young Will and Mike, paired with Robin's speech, made for a beautiful moment. It honestly made me tear up a little. We have seen the character of Will go through so much this entire show and have all these pent up emotions and feelings, so to see him let loose and accept himself, at least somewhat, was very cathartic and gorgeous and triumphant. And then the reveal of 8. Wow, I was not expecting that. I honestly thought they forgot about her character, and I'm really glad they're bringing her back. I just hope they do her justice. It wasn't perfect, of course. There were times where the writing was a bit corny, or some things didn't get as much payoff as I might have liked, but overall, my issues were quite small, and I really enjoyed this season. Now, let's talk more specifically about some of the characters. This is really more of a mixed bag, because there's some characterizations that I adore, and others that I truly despise. First, let's begin with the new, or somewhat new, characters, Derek and Holly. I've already talked about Holly some, so I'll keep it short. She has slowly been seeing more and more throughout the seasons, so this inclusion feels natural, and I like that we can see the Wheeler sibling bravery and intelligence in her. Though I hope she gains a bit more depth the further we go, as to not totally fall into the Stranger Things trope of just snarky, hyper-intelligent child. Then there's Derek, who I was not expecting to like as much as I did. There's not much to say except this kid is hilarious, and I'm expecting him to get his big moment soon. The main character of the season is, of course, Will, which surprisingly to me is something a lot of people don't like. I really enjoy that Will is finally getting his flowers and the screen time that he deserves. I find him to be one of the most compelling characters in the show, and it's a shame he is only now getting his moment. For the most part, they have seemed to fix my problems with characters such as Robin or Mike. Robin feels like she's at a decent mix between her season 3 and 4 self, and Mike is back in his kind-hearted leader role that he had in the beginning. The entire party, actually, seems to be much more self-assured, confident, and yet still retaining their key characteristics. That is, except for Dustin and Max. Max obviously can't interact with the story in the same way, but I genuinely enjoy her role so far, even if it is a little cheesy. Her fighting to survive all this time and now fighting to keep Holly alive too just feels right. And I'm glad they found a way to keep Sadie Sink in as a big part, because I think she is fantastic in this role. And then Dustin, who is grieving the loss of Eddie and taking it out on everyone. I think it's an interesting direction for them to go in, but personally, not my favorite. I feel like it just isolates him more from the main kids, which I didn't love, especially seeing as he hasn't interacted much with some like Will or Mike in quite some time. My biggest complaint though is Steve and Jonathan. I find this love triangle to be boring and overplayed. It's seen so often nowadays, and it's completely unnecessary in a show like this. This was one of my biggest issues in season 4. I felt like they lost Steve's character, and it seems the problem is still here. I truly believe they don't have a direction for him or Jonathan. It's clear that the writers cannot find a good way for these characters to add something meaningful to the story, so they do the most cliche thing they can and create a love triangle. Now, if you couldn't tell, I'm Team Jancy, though I don't care much. I think both Steve and Nancy left their mark on each other, and that is all. It would and has already began tearing down their growth. Not only this, but Steve finally getting over Nancy in season 3, getting rejected, and then immediately going back in season 4 feels wrong. I don't know where they're going with this plot point, but it's not looking good for Steve, and I don't like it. Overall, though I had some issues, I thought this season was a very good start. Obviously, we have a lot to go still, but I have very high hopes. Now, I really hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe and comment. It means a lot. I know all of you watching are unsubscribed because I have like 5 subscribers. So if you want to hear more of me just straight yapping, then you know what to do. I'm going to start making more analysis or essay type videos when I can, so look forward to that. Until next time, peace.